I'm sorry. My ex-boyfriend came back to me. We're not getting our marriage certificate today. On the other end of the phone, Zhao Qing's voice trembled with a nauseating mix of guilt and smugness. In the background, I could almost hear a man's comforting voice. That was Qin Yu, her so-called ex-boyfriend. And also my former brother. Beep, 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 the busy tone was like a dull knife cutting into my flesh. Again and again. Slicing my eardrums. I gripped my newly purchased phone. My knuckles turning white. In June, the air conditioning in the Civil Affairs Bureau was blasting. But I felt a chill creep up from the soles of my feet, chilling me to the bone. The world around me seemed to have been muted at that moment. Everyone's movements froze. I could clearly feel that the men and women who had been busy filling out forms, taking photos, and exchanging rings were now all staring at me. In those gazes, there was pity, contempt, and above all, an undisguised, monkey show-like excitement. Comrade, are you still going to register? If not, please make way. There are other people behind you. The young woman at the registration desk frowned slightly, her tone carrying a professional impatience. But the hint of pity in her eyes betrayed her. I opened my mouth, but my throat felt like it was stuffed with a wad of wet cotton. I couldn't make a sound. This was the second time. 2 months ago. In this very spot. Zhao Qing cried and begged to postpone her wedding because Qin Yu was hospitalized after a car accident. I believed her then. Like a fool. Comforting her with a life at stake. And what happened? The car accident was fake. The money borrowing was real. She used my savings to comfort her cheating ex. I thought that was the bottom line. I never imagined that the bottom line could be crossed again and again as long as you were willing to bow your head. Today, I even naively thought that as long as we got the marriage certificate, she would settle down. TSK. It's that young man again. This is the second time this month he's been stood up. The woman at the next window whispered to her colleague. Young people these days. They're really playing around. Yeah. Right. He seems like a decent guy. How come he's so unreliable with his partner? The whispers felt like needles pricking my back. I stiffly turned around, wanting to escape this suffocating place. Just as I turned, the registrar, probably unable to bear it any longer, put down her stamp and pointed to a bench in the corner of the lobby. Hey, that girl over there. She's about the same as you. Her fiancé ran off with a rich woman. She just finished crying. What's this? Birds of a feather flock together, you two are a perfect match. Saves you another trip. My gaze followed her finger. In the corner sat a woman. She wore a faded beige trench coat. Her long hair disheveled, covering half her face, revealing only a pale chin. She didn't cry. She just sat there quietly, like a porcelain doll that had lost its soul. Sunlight streamed through the window, falling on her. But it couldn't dispel the deep sense of desolation. Our eyes met briefly. Her eyes were large and beautiful. But now they seemed veiled in gray. Empty and heartbreaking. 10 seconds. A full 10 seconds of eye contact. The air seeming to solidify into a viscous, suffocatingly thick. Suddenly, she stood up. Her movements were slow, yet carried a resolute determination. She walked step by step to me. So close I could smell the faint scent of gardenias on her, mingled with the salty taste of tears. Should we go get our marriage certificate? She stared at me, her voice hoarse, yet unusually clear. I brought my household registration book. I froze. My mind went blank. What was this all about? 2 pitiful souls. Just abandoned. We're going to start a new family in this wretched moment. It sounded absurd. Like a poorly written joke. But I saw the fire in her eyes. That wasn't begging, but a form of self-preservation. A desperate struggle to grasp at the last straw. Even when facing an abyss. And wasn't I the same? If I walked out empty-handed today, I would become a permanent laughingstock in the entire Civil Affairs Bureau and even in my circle. Zhao Qing would know I couldn't even handle this much. And she would laugh at my weakness in front of Qin Yu. I wouldn't allow it. Okay. I heard my own voice. Dry as if it had been sanded on sandpaper. 10 minutes later. I had a wife. The seal on the marriage certificate clicked off. The bright red color stinging my eyes. I stared at the unfamiliar woman in the photo, Sue Wan. The name I had just learned. She pursed her lips. Without a smile. As if attending a funeral. The cold glass doors of the Civil Affairs Bureau slowly opened. Reflecting my numb face. The red marriage certificate in my hand didn't feel like a certificate. But more like a freshly forged branding iron. Burning my palm. Sue Wan walked beside me. The sound of her high heels clicking on the ground crisp and lonely. We walked on like that. One after the other. Neither of us speaking. The air seemed to solidify. So awkward it felt like it could be sculpted. People came and went. Whispers like countless needles pricking my skin. I could feel those gazes, sympathetic. Mocking. Indulging in the spectacle. Zhao Qing. This was the second time. At the Civil Affairs Bureau. She had turned me into a complete fool with just one phone call. A void lay in my heart. I couldn't even feel the pain anymore. Only a deathly numbness. Let's go eat first. I said. My voice still dry. She, Sue Wan, looked up. Her eyes, which should have been clear, were now veiled in a layer of despondency and dejection. She responded softly. Like a feather falling to the ground. We went into the nearest casual restaurant and sat down facing each other. Silence stretched between us like a wall. The white tablecloth. The greasy menu. The dim yellow light overhead, everything seemed so unreal. The waiter's menu broke the deathly silence. I flipped through a few pages haphazardly and ordered 2 of the cheapest stir-fried dishes. My name is Lin Chen. I introduced myself again. As if that would make this absurdity seem more real. As if we were truly just ordinary friends meeting for the first time. Sue Wan. She said softly. Her gaze fixed on the teacup in front of her. Watching the tea leaves slowly unfurl. Sink. And finally settle in the water. The dishes arrived quickly. But no one touched their chopsticks. The fumes from the cooking oil mingled with the noise of the restaurant. Making one feel irritated. My fiancé, we've been together for 5 years. Sue Wan spoke first. Her voice ethereal. As if coming from a distant place. He chose someone who can save him 20 years of struggle. Her tone was calm. Without tears. Without hysteria. Simply stating a fact. That calmness was more suffocating than anything else. Pressing down on one's chest. I could imagine what that scene was like, 5 years of youth. Exchanged for you're great. But we're not right for each other. And then watching that man walk away arm in arm with another woman. I understood that feeling. Nothing is more heartbreaking than utter despair. My girlfriend. Zhao Qing. I continued. A self-deprecating smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. This is the second time she's regretted it, on the very day we got our marriage certificate, and each time it's because of her ex-boyfriend. After saying that, I even felt a little ridiculous. My lips twitched. But I couldn't manage a smile. One for money. The other for past love. Today. In the Civil Affairs Bureau. We were the 2 most glaring sights. What are your plans now? I asked her. Trying to change the subject. Trying to find some common ground. She shook her head. Her eyes filled with confusion. Like a fledgling bird lost in a storm. I don't know. The house belongs to him. I have nowhere to go. My heart clenched. Nowhere to go. Behind those 4 words lay so much bitterness and helplessness. A girl struggling in a big city. Pinning all her savings and hopes on that man and that house. Her dream shattered. Leaving her homeless. I have a 2-bedroom apartment. I almost blurted out. The words left our mouths. And we both froze. The atmosphere became awkward again. Even our breathing became cautious. What I mean is. I hurriedly explained. Feeling my cheeks burning. As if on fire. We can. Temporarily. Share an apartment. The word share an apartment. Coupled with the bright red marriage certificate in our hands. Seemed particularly ironic. We were legally married. Yet we had to discuss sharing an apartment like strangers. Consider it a buffer period for both of us. I added. My voice low. Don't worry. I won't. I'll sleep in the 2nd bedroom. Sue Wan looked at me. A glimmer of light seeming to flash in her clear eyes. Like a match struck in the darkness. She remained silent for a long time. Until I thought she would refuse. Before she gently nodded. Okay. That one word, light as a feather, was like a stone falling into the stagnant lake of my heart, stirring up a barely perceptible ripple. The meal was tasteless. The food was cold. The oil congealed on the surface, like a layer of pale grease. I took her back to my place. The mortgage wasn't paid off yet, but this was my only refuge in this city. A fortress I'd earned through 5 years of overtime and sleepless nights. The apartment wasn't big, only 60 square meters. But I'd always kept it impeccably clean. The floors gleamed, and the furniture was neatly arranged. This was my only remaining sanctuary, untouched by Zhao Qing. Su Wan stood in the center of the living room, looking around. Her gaze swept over the bookshelves and sofa, finally settling on the few half-dead potted plants on the balcony. Her tense shoulders seemed to relax a little, as if she'd finally found a safe haven. You'll stay in the master bedroom with the balcony. It'll have good natural light. I pushed her suitcase in. It was a small pink suitcase. Looking so lonely. Unable to hold 5 years of memories. Yet containing all of her present. Thank you, she said softly. Those 2 words became the only bond between us. Besides saying thank you, there seemed to be nothing else to say. Night fell. I lay on the bed in the second bedroom. The sheets were freshly changed, still smelling of laundry detergent. But they were as cold as a sheet of iron. I stared at the ceiling, where a few fine cracks ran. Much like my life right now. It all felt like an absurd dream. Just hours ago, I was dreaming about my future with Zhao Qing. Now, a strange wife lay beside me. My phone vibrated, the screen glowing faintly in the darkness. It was a message from Zhao Qing. From that newly changed, unfamiliar number. Lin Chen. Don't be angry. Chen Yu is really in trouble this time. And I have to help him. I'll come back to you after I've dealt with things here. You must wait for me. Don't do anything foolish. Her tone carried a condescending sense of condescension. As if she weren't betraying me, but bestowing charity. As if she didn't need to explain anything. And I only needed to wait there like a loyal dog. What did she take me for? A trash can that stood there forever. At her beck and call. Am I just a backup plan? Always available for her to use whenever she needs me. A wave of nausea surged from my stomach. I stared intently at the words, my finger hovering over the screen. Countless scenes of arguments and reconciliations flashed through my mind, those humble compromises. Those self-deceiving excuses. Those constantly lowered bottom lines to maintain the relationship. Now, they felt like resounding slaps to my face. Burning with pain. This time, I didn't reply with okay. I'll wait for you as usual. I didn't reply, but silently long pressed her profile picture and selected delete contact. WeChat. Phone number. All deleted. Each deletion felt like tearing away a piece of rotten flesh. After doing all this, I felt as if the boulder pressing on my chest had cracked open. And fresh air rushed in. Chilly but real. The next day, I was awakened by the aroma of food. It was a long-lost smell of home. It wasn't the industrial, oily smell of takeout, but the aroma of millet porridge slowly simmering, mingled with the caramelized scent of fried eggs. I stepped out of the second bedroom and saw Su Wan busy in the kitchen, wearing my oversized white t-shirt. The t-shirt hung loosely on her, making her appear exceptionally petite. Morning light streamed through the window, bathing her in a soft, golden glow, giving her an almost unreal beauty. On the table were 2 delicate breakfasts, thick millet porridge sprinkled with a pinch of golden corn kernels, a runny yolk with crispy, golden brown edges, and 2 refreshing dishes of pickled vegetables. You're awake, she said, turning to me with a smile, her face no longer ashen from yesterday, but more vibrant. I wasn't sure what you'd like, so I made something simple. I've always relied on takeout, usually grabbing a steamed bun on the way to breakfast. A breakfast like this, full of life, was a luxury for me, even a foreign concept. It's been a long time since anyone has prepared breakfast for me when I wake up. Even Zhao Qing always makes me buy it myself, using makeup as an excuse. Thank you, I said, my voice a little hoarse. I sat down, picked up a spoon, and took a sip of the porridge. Warm and smooth. It slid down my throat and into my stomach. a warm current spreading from my stomach to my limbs. The icy feeling of being abandoned by the whole world yesterday seemed to have been dispelled a lot by this bowl of porridge. "Your cooking is really good," I said sincerely. This wasn't just politeness, but heartfelt gratitude. "I used to make it often," she said softly, her eyes flickering for a moment before returning to calm. I could imagine that it was made for someone else. That unfaithful man, who enjoyed such tenderness for 5 years, but easily abandoned it for some so-called shortcut. We both tacitly avoided mentioning yesterday, as if it were an unspoken scar. Untouchable. After the meal, I prepared to go to work. In this city, only my job will never betray me. It gives me a salary, the capital to stand firm in this concrete jungle. This is the spare key. I placed a bunch of keys on the cabinet in the entryway. "Rest assured. Don't rush to find a job. Take your time." She nodded and took the keys. The coolness of the metal reached her fingertips. As I changed my shoes, she suddenly spoke. Her voice soft, tinged with barely perceptible embarrassment. "I'm temporarily unemployed, so the rent might be a little late." My heart ached. How much courage did it take for a proud girl to say something like that? "Don't," I interrupted her, trying to make my tone sound light and natural. "Consider it a housewarming bonus for your roommate. This place is just sitting empty anyway. It's nice to have some life here." I closed the door, still able to feel her gaze lingering behind me. A gaze filled with gratitude and a complex, searching look. When I got to the office, the atmosphere was a little strange. Several colleagues were gathered together, but they immediately dispersed when they saw me. But the forced smiles on their faces, and the corners of their mouths that they were desperately trying to suppress, completely betrayed their thoughts. My childhood friend and colleague, Zhou Yi, pulled me to the break room. "Brother Lin, are you all right?" he asked cautiously, his eyes searching my face for any sign of distress. "I'm fine," I replied calmly, picking up a disposable cup and filling it with hot water. "Zhao Qing is too much. This is the second time. How could she do this?" Zhou Yi was indignant. He was the only one who knew the details of my 2 failed attempts to get me stood up. "That woman is a lunatic. You didn't you go and confront her this time? That was all in the past." My calmness surprised him. "No. Are you just going to give up like this? The people at the Civil Affairs Bureau were all talking about it yesterday, saying some guy got stood up twice in a row, becoming the biggest joke of the year." Zhou Yi lowered his voice, afraid of upsetting me. My fists clenched silently at my sides. Yes. I'd become a joke. A well-known joke. In this huge office building. My name, Lin Chen, was probably already labeled a good-for-nothing. "I'm married," I said. Zhou Yi was so shocked his jaw almost dropped, nearly spilling his coffee. "What? With whom? You're not crazy, are you? You were dumped yesterday. And you're getting married today. This is faster than a TV drama. With a girl who was also stood up." I didn't say anything more and turned back to my workstation. All day, I felt countless eyes scrutinizing me. Some were curious. Some were gloating. And some were genuinely worried. I buried myself in my work, suppressing all my emotions deep inside. Only when I was typing could I feel alive, valuable. In the evening, I dragged my tired body home, pushing open the cold security door. I wasn't greeted by the usual darkness and silence. The house was lit by a warm orange light from the retro floor lamp in the living room. The air was filled with the aroma of food, the smell of braised pork ribs, one of my favorite dishes. Su-Wan came out of the kitchen wearing an apron, a spatula in her hand, and fine beads of sweat on her forehead. "You're back. Dinner will be ready soon." I was stunned, standing in the entryway, unsure how to react. I looked at her again. At this neatly organized and vibrant home, a pair of pink slippers were in the entryway, a soft blanket draped over the sofa, and a plate of washed grapes sat on the coffee table. Suddenly, the hardened corner of my heart, concealing my wounds, softened. Dinner was plentiful. She used only the remaining ingredients in the refrigerator: half a cabbage, a few potatoes, And a piece of pork rib I'd forgotten about in the freezer, to make 3 dishes and a soup. They looked, smelled, and tasted delicious. Even better than what you get in restaurants. Did you empty my fridge? I joked, trying to break the slightly awkward atmosphere. She laughed, her eyes crinkling like crescent moons. Your fridge has so little stock. Besides frozen food and beer. There's nothing. That's not good for your health. For the first time, we sat together like real family. Chatting casually. We talked about the eccentric clients we'd encountered at work. The latest movies. And the new snacks at the convenience store downstairs. We tacitly avoided discussing our pasts. Focusing only on the present hardships and the trivialities of the future. The atmosphere was relaxed after dinner. I offered to wash the dishes. And she dried them. The water flowed freely, producing white foam. I used to be a financial analyst. She said casually. A hint of nostalgia in her voice. Specializing in financial statements and data. I was a little surprised and turned to look at her. In the dim light. Her profile was soft and beautiful. Financial analyst. That's impressive. I see you have stock trading software on your computer. She said, pointing to the study. If you don't mind, I can take a look. The fundamentals of the stocks you bought are good. But technically they've entered a downward trend. Of course. I didn't mind. I was even a little excited. I took out my computer. And she sat down beside me. The faint scent of gardenias lingering in my nostrils once more. Her fingers, long and slender, tapped on the keyboard. Her focused expression was completely different from when she was busy in the kitchen. A calm, professional atmosphere filled the kitchen. Exuding an air of complete control. She pointed to the candlestick chart on the screen. Explaining the MACD indicator and changes in trading volume with clear logic and organization. I began to realize that my wife, whom I had married out of shared misfortune, was no ordinary woman. Her composure, her culinary skills, and her professionalism all pointed to one fact: she was definitely not the kind of dependent woman who needed to rely on a man for survival. The peaceful days only lasted 2 days. At noon on the 3rd day, I was in a meeting when my phone vibrated incessantly in my pocket. I glanced at it. It was an unknown number. I didn't intend to answer. But the ringing persisted, even sounding somewhat jarring in the quiet meeting room. The host gave me a disapproving look. I had no choice but to get up, leave the meeting room, and answer the phone. Lin Chen. As soon as the call connected, Zhao Qing's shrill voice came through, like metal scraping against glass. Utterly jarring. What do you mean? You blocked me. You've got guts. Her tone was full of accusation and disbelief. As if blocking her was an unforgivable crime. We've broken up. My voice was calm, even tinged with weariness. The window at the end of the corridor was open. And the wind blew in, dispelling the heat in my heart. Break up. Did you agree? Didn't I tell you to wait for me? She scoffed as if she'd heard the biggest joke in the world. You dared to block me. Lin Chen. You've really grown bold. To force me back. You actually made up this kind of lie. You think I'd believe you just because you found a shill to put on a show. This self-righteous selfishness struck me as both laughable and absurd. She always thought I was her possession. Always thought I would wait for her. I'm not lying to you. I'm married. A deathly silence fell on the other end of the phone. A few seconds later, a roar even sharper than before erupted. A beastly howl of an offended animal. What nonsense are you spouting? Are you trying to anger me on purpose? Lin Chen. You bastard. You're just trying to get revenge on me. Aren't you? You think I'd believe you just because you found some random woman. I'm not lying to you. I repeated. My tone cold. Fine. Very well. She roared furiously. Her voice distorted with anger. You just wait. I'm coming to find you right now. I'll see who that bitch you found is. The phone was slammed down, emitting a long beep. I fiddled with my phone. A strange unease creeping into my heart. I had thought deleting her contact information would be the end of it. But clearly, someone as extremely self-centered as Zhao Qing meant that as long as she didn't say it was over, this would never be over. She was like a piece of chewing gum that I couldn't shake off. I didn't tell Su Wan about this. It was my past. And I didn't want to involve her. I thought I'd handle it myself. At worst, I just see her again and clear things up. However, trouble always comes uninvited. And it came faster and more violently than I expected. In the evening, as soon as I reached the entrance of the residential area, I saw a familiar figure, Zhao Qing. She was wearing a designer dress and 7 or 8 centimeter heels. Her makeup so exquisite it looked like she'd just had her makeup done on a film set. She stood arrogantly at the entrance of my building, attracting the attention of many passers-by. She saw me too, and strode over in her heels, the sound of them clicking on the ground like rapid war drums. Lin Chen. How dare you lie to me? Where's that woman you found? Tell her to come out. She crossed her arms, strutting around like a rooster about to crow. Her chin held high. That's my business. None of your concern. I frowned, trying to walk past her. I didn't want to get entangled with her here. And I certainly didn't want the neighbors to laugh at me. She grabbed my arm, her nails digging almost into my flesh. The force astonishing. This isn't up to you. Let me tell you. Unless I agree, you'll never get rid of me. You're just my dog. At my beck and call. What? You think you can provoke me by finding some random woman? You think you're worthy? Her words were vicious and harsh. And the neighbors around were already peeking in, gathering together to watch the show. Some pointed. Some whispered. My face darkened. And just as I was about to force my way out of her, the stairwell door opened. Su Wan came out carrying a bag of trash. She was wearing simple white loungewear, her hair casually tied in a bun, her face bare of makeup. Yet she looked much more pleasing to the eye than the heavily made-up Zhao Qing. Her beauty was a fresh, natural, unadorned beauty. She saw us and paused slightly. There was no panic in her eyes, only a faint hint of annoyance. Zhao Qing's gaze swept over Su Wan from head to toe like an X-ray. Her eyes filled with disdain and contempt, as if she were looking at something dirty. Oh. So this is the stand-in you found? Zhao Qing mocked sarcastically, her voice shrill enough to pierce eardrums. Lin Chen. When did your taste become so bad? You actually fell for this kind of trash. She looks like a poor wretch. Doesn't even have a decent outfit. And she doesn't even deserve to be in this neighborhood. Her words were like a bucket of dirty water thrown directly at Su Wan. I was burning with anger and about to retort when Su Wan beat me to it. She gently tossed the trash bag in her hand into the nearby trash can with elegant and composed movements. Then slowly walked towards us. Her gaze fell on Zhao Qing, calm as a deep pool, without a trace of emotion, yet possessing an invisible sense of oppression. Stand in. Su Wan spoke. Her voice not loud, but each word clear and forceful, standing out in a noisy environment. The legally registered Mrs. Lin. May I ask, what are your thoughts on this ex-girlfriend? She deliberately emphasized the words ex-girlfriend. Zhao Qing's arrogance and smugness froze instantly. She hadn't expected this seemingly gentle woman to be so aggressive. And to hit the nail on the head right from the start, legally. She was the ex-girlfriend, while Su Wan was the legal wife. She opened her mouth, speechless for a long time, her carefully made-up face turning a deep purplish red, alternating between pale and flushed. I stood aside, watching Su Wan's slender yet upright back. This was the first time someone had stood in front of me like this, shielding me from those unbearable accusations. My heart pounded involuntarily. A feeling I'd never experienced before spreading through my heart. Zhao Qing finally found her voice, trembling with anger, and began to speak recklessly. Who do you think you are? Do you know how much Lin Chen loves me? How many times has he proposed? You're nothing but a tool he uses to provoke me. Lin Chen. Tell me you love me. She tried to hurt us with the past, trying to rekindle my old feelings. Su Wan didn't even glance at her, instead casting a questioning look at me. Her eyes were crystal clear, as if saying, this is your business. You handle it. In that instant, I snapped out of my daze, stepped forward, and firmly stood in front of Su Wan, completely protecting her behind me. I stared directly at Zhao Qing's face, twisted with rage, feeling nothing but utter disgust. We're over, I said, each word distinct, My voice as cold as ice. Please don't bother my wife again. The word wife slipped out. Even I felt a little dazed. Those two words sounded so heavy. So resolute at that moment. Soo-won behind me seemed to stir slightly. Without me noticing, I had gripped her wrist tightly. Her hand was cold. Yet soft. Her pulse beating steadily in my palm. Lin Chen. Zhao Qing completely broke down. Rushing towards me like a madwoman. But I pushed her away. You liar. You bastard. Didn't you say you'd only love me for the rest of your life? You've told me everything. You'll die a horrible death. At this moment, her tantrum and rolling around on the ground looked both ugly and ridiculous. Without that refined exterior. She was just a hysterical shrew. I didn't waste any more words. Grabbing her wrist and half dragging, half pulling her out of the apartment building lobby, I gave the security guard at the door a look. And he understood. Unlocking the electronic door. As the heavy glass door closed behind me, Zhao Qing's curses stopped abruptly. Shutting out the outside world. The world suddenly became quiet. With only the hum of the air conditioner in the lobby. I turned around and looked at Soo-won. I'm sorry. I whispered. Filled with guilt. I dragged you into this. Soo-won. You did very well just now. She pulled her hand away from mine. Turned. And walked towards the elevator. Her back view somewhat distant. It's nothing. I just don't like being falsely accused. Her voice was flat. Devoid of emotion. That night, the atmosphere between us subtly changed. We were no longer just roommates. The feeling was indescribable. Somewhat inexplicable. It seemed as if an invisible red thread was tightly binding us together. Dinner was silent. But Soo-won put a piece of food on my plate. In the evening, Soo-won sat in front of the computer in the study as usual. Typing on the keyboard. It was my computer. She seemed to have gotten used to managing my messy investment accounts. Those stocks you bought before. You can sell them after the market opens tomorrow. She said without turning her head. Her tone confident. Why? The trend looks pretty good. Doesn't it? They even went up 2 points today. I was a little confused and leaned over to look at the screen. Those stocks were indeed in an upward channel. And all the indicators showed good results. The short-term upward trend has peaked. Volume and price are diverging. The MACD red bars are shortening. And greed will come at a price. Her tone was unquestionable. Carrying the confidence unique to a professional. Despite my doubts, I chose to believe her. Not only because of her previously demonstrated professionalism, but also because of a strange intuition. I believed this woman wouldn't harm me. The next day, during a break at work, I secretly checked the stock market. The stocks I had just sold briefly surged after the opening, creating a false sense of prosperity, before plummeting uncontrollably. Looking at the green indicator representing the decline, I was terrified. If I had acted half an hour later, I would probably be deeply trapped. Cold sweat seeped down my back, soaking my shirt. This couldn't be explained by simple financial analysis. It was practically a precise prediction of market sentiment. She seemed to be able to see through the minds of those traders. Just who was this woman I impulsively married? This thought, like a seed, took root and sprouted wildly in my heart. I began to realize that what I had casually picked up might not have been a docile little rabbit at all, but a ferocious beast in sheep's clothing. Completely unfathomable. What kind of turbulent waves were hidden beneath her calm? The news of my flash marriage could not be kept secret after all. It spread like wildfire to my parents' ears thousands of miles away. Friday night. A phone call came in. My mother's furious roar made my eardrums ache. I could feel her thunderous rage even through the receiver. Lin Chen. Are you crazy? Such a big decision. And you didn't even discuss it with us. Just casually marrying a woman. Do you even have any regard for me as your mother? Do you even have any regard for this family? Then came my father's deep voice. Carrying an undeniable authority, bring her home this weekend. We have to meet her. Hanging up the phone. I felt a splitting headache. As if someone was hammering my temples. I knew this moment would come sooner or later. But I didn't expect it to come so quickly. So violently. I told Soo-won about the situation. But she was surprisingly calm. Her hand peeling an apple without even pausing. Visiting your aunt and uncle is only natural. After all, we're husband and wife now. She cut the apple in half, handing me one half and eating the other herself. Her composure only made me more uneasy. I know my parents. Especially my mother, a typical working-class woman. Shrewd, materialistic, and intolerant of injustice. If Sue Won were just an ordinary, helpless girl, she probably wouldn't have gotten past my mother's hurdle. That weekend, I took Sue Won and carefully chosen gifts back to my hometown. It was an old neighborhood. The stairwell filled with the smells of cooking oil and mildew. As soon as I entered, the atmosphere was oppressive. My mother sat sternly on the sofa, arms crossed, while my father sat silently smoking, his expression obscured by the swirling smoke. "Dad. Mom. This is Sue Won," I introduced, my palms slightly sweaty. "Hello, Uncle and Auntie." Sue Won greeted them with a smile, giving a slight bow, her demeanor neither humble nor arrogant, her manners impeccable. Her mother snorted coldly, her gaze scanning Sue Won from head to toe like a scanner, her eyes full of scrutiny. "Where are you from? What does your family do? Where are you studying or working now?" A barrage of questions, like an interrogation of a criminal, came at her in rapid succession. "Auntie. I'm a local. My parents run a small business. And I'm currently unemployed," she answered politely, her smile still present. Upon hearing unemployed, her mother's face instantly darkened, as if she had swallowed a fly. "No job? Then isn't she just a good-for-nothing idler?" Her voice suddenly rose 8 octaves, pointing at Sue Won's nose. "Lin Chen. Look at the kind of person you found. No job. She must be after our house, trying to scam us into marriage. Isn't she?" "Mom." I couldn't help but interrupt her, my anger rising. "Sue Won isn't that kind of person. What do you know? You don't even know what you're talking about. You've been bewitched by a vixen." My mother slammed her hand on the table and stood up abruptly, the bowls and chopsticks on the table jumping. "Have you forgotten Zhao Qing? Zhao Qing is so good. We know her background. She's a college graduate. You're doing this for a woman of unknown origin. You." Just then, my mother's phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID. Her anger instantly vanished, replaced by a fawning smile, and she answered the phone right in front of us. "Hey. Zhao Qing." "Yes. Lin Chen brought that girl back. She's just average looking. Doesn't have a job. And I just can't stand her." "Yes. Yes. You're so understanding and considerate. We know her well. Don't worry. Auntie will definitely side with you." My blood rushed to my head. I didn't know where Zhao Qing got my mom's phone number, or what she said. But after hanging up, the way my mom looked at Sue Won changed from scrutiny to blatant disgust. As if Sue Won were something filthy. "I'm telling you, Lin Chen. I don't approve of this marriage. Go and divorce her right now. Zhao Qing said she's willing to forgive you if you turn back." "Impossible." I stood up, my blood boiling, the chair scraping against the floor with a screeching sound. "This is my own business. My wife is only Sue Won. You've grown wings, haven't you? You dare talk back to me for some woman of unknown origin?" My mom pointed at my nose and yelled. "She's not some woman of unknown origin. She's my wife." I practically screamed. My mom and I had the fiercest argument ever. Spittle flying everywhere. Finally, I grabbed Sue Won, slammed the door, and stormed out. My footsteps echoed in the empty stairwell, each step heavy as lead. On the way home, the train carriage was deathly silent. Only the roar of the engine and the sound of the wind outside the window mingled together. I could sense Sue Won's low spirits, although she still sat upright, looking at the night view outside the window. I could see her hands on her knees, her fingers tightly clasped together, her knuckles white. "I'm sorry." This was the 3rd time I had said this to her. Every time, it was because of my messes and bad deeds. She shook her head, looking at the neon lights rushing past the window. Her voice tired and hoarse. "If this has caused you too much trouble, we can make it real. Maybe it was a mistake from the start. This is my choice. I will take responsibility." I suddenly interrupted her. pulled the car over to the side of the road, and turned to look at her. The light from the street lamp shone through the car window, illuminating her pale profile. I could vaguely see tears welling up in the corners of her eyes, sparkling like broken diamonds in the dim light. At that moment, only one thought occupied my mind: I couldn't let her go. Not just because of the marriage certificate, but also because of the warmth she had brought me these past few days. That long-lost peace. Sue Won. I called her name, my voice low and firm. I've said it before. We're husband and wife. I'll handle things with my mother. Give me some time. She turned her head, her dusty eyes looking at me with surprise, disbelief, and a faint glimmer of hope. 6. After returning home, Sue Won locked herself in her room and didn't come out for a long time. I knew she was upset, but I didn't disturb her. The pressure from my family weighed heavily on my heart, making it hard to breathe. In the following days, a new project at the company encountered a major problem. It was a collaborative project with an overseas investment company, involving a huge sum of money, affecting the department's year-end bonuses, and even my year-end performance review. The partner was a powerful investment company, and the representative they sent was extremely picky, a man in his 40s wearing gold-rimmed glasses, surnamed Lee. He criticized our proposal mercilessly, from the logical structure to the data support, leaving nothing untouched. Everyone in the department was frowning. We worked overtime for several days in a row, revising the proposal more than a dozen times. But all of them were rejected. A sense of despair permeated the office. As a core member of the project team, I bore the brunt of the pressure. Those few days, I suffered from insomnia every night, and my hair was falling out in clumps. That night, I brought home a huge stack of documents, intending to work through the night. I sat in front of the computer, facing the dense data and charts on the screen, completely lost and unsure where to begin. My mind was a jumbled mess. The more I thought, the more confused I became. Sue Won brought me a glass of hot milk and placed it beside me. She glanced at the screen and suddenly said, "Your plan is on the wrong track." I was startled and looked up at her. She was wearing pajamas, her long hair cascading over her shoulders, but her eyes were unusually clear. She continued, "Our partners are foreign investors. They seek stable and long-term returns and are extremely risk-averse. But you're only emphasizing short-term high profits, completely missing their core needs. It's like trying to sell insurance to someone afraid of dying. But all you talk about is how high the returns are, without mentioning how comprehensive the protection is." She had only glanced at it casually, yet she had pinpointed the crux of the problem. Not only that, she pointed to a chart on the screen and said, "Your data model has a flaw here. The risk assessment for the third quarter was too optimistic and didn't take into account exchange rate fluctuations. Their professional team can spot it immediately. This will be a fatal weakness." I stared at her in shock, speechless for a long time. Our entire team of dozens had worked several sleepless nights, consulted external experts, but hadn't found the problem. She, however, saw it clearly with just one glance. "So what do you think we should do?" I blurted out instinctively, my eyes filled with pleading. She didn't answer directly, but picked up a sticky note and quickly scribbled. A few minutes later, a completely new framework for the solution appeared on the paper. It was a highly creative solution I had never considered, bold yet logically sound. She suggested we shift our focus from profit expectations to asset preservation and risk hedging, and introduced a new set of financial derivatives as collateral. I looked at the paper, then at her. And that night, my heart remained unsettled for a long time. How many more surprises did this woman hold that I didn't know about? Following her line of thought, I almost scrapped all my previous work and drafted a completely new plan. The deeper I went, the more alarmed I became. The deeper I went, the more I admired her. Her thinking was frighteningly meticulous, and she possessed an almost instinctive, keen sense of the market. The next day, I submitted the new plan with a heavy heart. The atmosphere in the meeting room was as tense as ever. Representative Lee solemnly opened the plan, carefully reading each page. Time ticked by. My heart was in my throat, and my palms were sweating. Suddenly, she looked up. adjusted her glasses. And for the first time in days, her face showed an expression without sarcasm, even a hint of approval. "Who did this plan?" she asked, her gaze sweeping across the room. My supervisor immediately pushed me forward, patting my shoulder to signal me to speak. The representative looked at me, her eyes filled with scrutiny and admiration. "This idea is very novel. And the entry point is very precise. Especially the measures for mitigating exchange rate risk, they're very professional. This is exactly what we've been hoping for." Everyone in the meeting room breathed a sigh of relief, followed by enthusiastic applause. And just like that, the project was finalized. That evening, the company arranged a celebratory banquet. During the banquet, my boss kept patting me on the shoulder, praising me as a hero of the company, a rising star. Colleagues raised their glasses to toast me, showering me with compliments. But I knew in my heart that the real hero was Sue Won at home. It was she who gave me that ray of light in the darkness of the night. Halfway through the banquet, the door to the private room suddenly opened. A powerful, dignified middle-aged man walked in, followed by several assistants in suits. It turned out to be our boss personally accompanying him. "Let me introduce you all. This is Chairman Chen, the chairman of our partner, Hongyuan Group." We all stood up and bowed respectfully. Chairman Chen is a legendary figure in the business world. He built the Hongyuan Group, a business empire from scratch, with assets worth hundreds of billions. His mere presence shakes the city's business district. He smiled and nodded to us, his gaze sweeping across the room. When his eyes fell on me, he paused slightly. No, he wasn't looking at me, but at the air beside me. Wait, there's no one beside me. So what was he looking at? As I wondered, Chairman Chen walked straight towards me, his face displaying a complex expression: shock, excitement, and a kind of elder's affection for a younger person. After the banquet, the boss specially asked me to stay and have tea with Chairman Chen. I was flattered and somewhat at a loss, sitting stiffly with my back ramrod straight. During our conversation, my phone rang. It was Sue Won calling. In the quiet tea room, the ringtone seemed particularly abrupt. "When are you coming back? I left you some soup." Her gentle voice came through the receiver, tinged with a hint of languor and concern. "Mr. Chen" suddenly stopped, his brows furrowing slightly as he stared intently at my phone. His ears perked up as if trying to catch the slightest sound. "Sorry. It's my wife. I apologize to Mr. Chen" with a smile, then lowered my voice to Sue Won. "I'm with a client. I might be back late. Then drink less. I'll wait for you." The call ended. The tea room was deathly silent. "Mr. Chen" looked at me and suddenly asked, his voice trembling slightly, "Your wife? What's her name?" Although it felt strange, I answered truthfully, "Her name is Sue Won." "Which Won?" Mr. Chen leaned forward, his eyes burning. "It's the Won in the night is deep, pronounced like Won. No. It's the Won in gentle and subtle." I corrected him. With a crack, the purple clay teacup in Mr. Chen's hand fell to the ground and shattered. Scalding hot tea splashed all over him. But he didn't seem to notice. He stared intently at me, his eyes filled with shock and excitement. An unbelievable panic overflowing. Where is she?" His voice trembled, his aged hands gripping the edge of the table tightly, his knuckles white. I was completely stunned. My mind went blank, like a computer that had crashed. Half an hour later, I brought Chairman Chen home. I unlocked the door and saw Sue Won wearing an apron, ladling soup in the kitchen. The pot was simmering yam and pork rib soup, its aroma filling the air. She turned around when she heard the door open. And when she saw Chairman Chen behind me, the smile on her face vanished instantly, replaced by a complex emotion, a mixture of helplessness and reproach, a hint of grievance, and a touch of panic at having her secret discovered. The once powerful and authoritative chairman of the board, upon seeing Sue Won, had his eyes redden and his voice choked with emotion. He then bowed deeply, his waist almost at a 90-degree angle. "Miss, why are you suffering here? If the master knew, he would be heartbroken." "Miss, suffering? I felt my worldview crumble and rebuild in an instant. Looking at the woman in an apron cooking soup for me. And then at the red-eyed, obsequious chairman of the group. I felt as if the whole world had become a dream. Utterly unreal. Su Wan sighed, took off her apron, and moved with composure. Uncle Chen. What brings you here? Her tone was calm. Yet it exuded an undeniable authority. The aura of someone who had long held a high position. Miss. It's my fault. Manager Chen stepped forward excitedly. His voice trembling with tears. You've been missing for the past few months. And the master has practically turned the whole city upside down. If we hadn't overheard Mr. Lin's phone call today, we wouldn't have known you were here, living this kind of life. As he spoke, his eyes swept over the small apartment with pity. As if it were some kind of slum. Su Wan waved her hand, stopping him from continuing. Uncle Chen. This is my own life. This is Lin Chen. My legal husband. She turned to me. Her eyes softening. Lin Chen. This is Chairman Chen of Hongyuan Group. My father's old friend. I nodded stiffly. My throat dry. Legal husband. She emphasized legal. Chairman Chen quickly extended his hand to me. His attitude sincere and humble. Mr. Lin. Hello. Hello. I'm so sorry. So sorry. I didn't know you were here before. Please forgive me if I've been negligent. I mechanically shook his hand. Soft and warm. Yet it made me feel dizzy. Seeing my blank expression. Su Wan sighed softly. Walked up to me. And tilted her head slightly. Lin Chen. Are you willing? Give me a chance. And give yourself a chance. Our union started out absurd. Like a farce. But now, I want to take this marriage seriously. She paused. Her eyes so sincere they were almost blinding. With you. I feel an unprecedented sense of security. You won't fawn over me because of my status. Nor will you look down on me because of my misfortune. You'll be angry because my mother treats you badly. And you'll unhesitatingly defend me in front of Zhao Qing. This bowl of hot porridge is more precious than any delicacy. I gazed into her eyes. Where the weariness and confusion of the past were gone. Replaced by a clear and unwavering determination. My heart raced, insecurity. Unease. Shock. And anger at being deceived, a jumble of emotions. But ultimately, what overwhelmed everything was her words. I feel so secure. And her pure, unadulterated sincerity. Facing her gaze. I remained silent for a long time. Then stood up and gently wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes. The tears were scalding hot. Dripping onto my fingertips. Your cooking is so delicious. I said. My voice a little hoarse. I feel like. I can't find a reason to divorce you anymore. She paused slightly. Then wiped away her tears. Breaking into a smile that bloomed like spring flowers. Bright and captivating. 8. After that night. Our relationship entered a completely new phase. Once that thin veil was lifted. Everything became honest. Su Wan no longer hid her abilities and became my personal advisor. Whether it was work problems or financial planning. She could always give the most accurate advice. I also tried to adapt to the fact that my wife was actually a truly important person. The sole heir to the Hongyuan Group. However, troubles don't simply disappear because of our honesty. The tree may wish to be still. But the wind will not cease. After I drove her away. Zhao Qing was quiet for a while. But she quickly found a new ally, Su Wan's ex-fiancé. Zhang Wei. The man who had abandoned Su Wan for money. Turning to a 60-year-old rich woman. Was filled with remorse after learning Su Wan's true identity. While the rich woman was wealthy. She was old and faded. With a volatile temper. Far inferior to Su Wan's youth. Beauty. Gentleness. And consideration. Moreover. Su Wan was backed by the powerful Hongyuan Group. The two hit it off. One wanted to win back his old love and climb the social ladder again. The other wanted revenge on me. To break me up with Su Wan. That day. I had just gotten off work when Zhang Wei blocked my way at the company entrance. He drove a flashy red Porsche. Wore a suit of indeterminate brand. Struck a model-like pose. And slicked back hair. Are you Lin Chen? He leaned against the car door. Looking down at me with an air of superiority. What's up? I didn't want to waste time talking to him. This clown was a waste of my time. He pulled a check from his pocket and waved it in front of me. The gesture so practiced it was disgusting. 1 million. Leave Sue Won. His tone was full of contempt. I've seen plenty of men like you. All you're after is the Sue family's money. Take the money and get out of here. Don't taint her eyes. You're not good enough for her. Not even worthy to carry her shoes. Every word he spoke was humiliating. An attempt to trample on my dignity with money. A surge of anger rose from my chest to my head. I looked at his face, etched with arrogance and stupidity, and remembered the indifferent look in Sue Won's eyes when she mentioned him. You think? I began coldly, a mocking smile playing on my lips. In your eyes, Sue Won is only worth 1 million. He froze, seemingly not expecting me to ask that. I'm telling you, you're not good enough for her. I pointed at his nose, closing in on him step by step. You weren't good enough before. And you're even less so now. Because you're not only poor. You're also tasteless. Get out. Who do you think you are? Daring to lecture me? He was enraged, swinging his fist and charging at me, wanting to resolve the issue with violence. I didn't dodge. In the past, I might have chosen to swallow my anger. But now, with Sue Won behind me, I couldn't back down, much less show weakness. I dodged his punch and then landed a hard punch on his face. This punch contained all the pent-up frustration, anger, and protective instincts I'd accumulated over the past few days. Zhang Wei screamed, clutching his nose and crouching down, blood seeping from between his fingers. This was the first time in my life I'd hit someone. But I didn't regret it. Afterwards, I felt a sense of exhilaration. Almost simultaneously, Zhao Qing's offensive began. She frantically spread rumors in the company's colleague group and our mutual social circle. Using screenshots and photoshopping images, she went to extreme lengths. She said Sue Won was a homewrecker who had broken up our relationship. And that I was a good-for-nothing who abandoned true love for money and was willing to live off a woman. She embellished the story vividly, portraying herself as a pitiful, wronged heroine and me as an ungrateful bastard. In an instant, I became the focus of everyone's discussion. Those initially sympathetic glances instantly turned into contempt and ridicule. Walking down the company corridor, I could feel the whispers and pointing fingers behind my back. When I got home, Sue Won clearly already knew everything. She was sitting on the sofa making a phone call. Her expression unusually calm, even a little cold, the authority of someone in a position of power. Yes. Check the accounts of Zhang Wei's companies. Especially the tax records. I need the most detailed report. Also, a woman named Zhao Qing is spreading false rumors about me online. Contact the legal department and prepare to send a lawyer's letter to sue her for defamation. She arranged everything meticulously. Her tone as calm as if she were ordering dinner. After hanging up, she saw me and immediately smiled. As if the cold queen from before was just an illusion. You're back. Does your hand hurt? She took my hand in hers, noticing the redness and swelling at my knuckles, and gently blew on it. That gentle gesture sent a shiver down my spine. It doesn't hurt. I shook my head, the gloom in my heart vanishing. My husband knows how to protect me now. Her tone was both teasing and full of warmth. We exchanged a smile. This was the first time we had joined forces in public. There was no arguing. No panic. Only absolute trust and understanding. I knew that we were no longer two abandoned losers, but comrades in arms fighting side by side. The action was swift. This is the power of authority. The next day, a detailed report of evidence regarding Zhang Wei's company's tax evasion was submitted to the tax authorities. The evidence was conclusive and undeniable. On the third day, Zhao Qing received a strongly worded lawyer's letter from Honyuan Group's legal department, demanding that she immediately delete all false statements, issue a public apology, and pay 1 million yuan in damages for emotional distress. Zhang Wei's company was quickly investigated. Its cash flow dried up, and it plunged into bankruptcy overnight. Zhao Qing was also directly dismissed for seriously damaging the company's reputation and faced a lengthy lawsuit and hefty compensation. Faced with absolute power, the rumors she had spread instantly became a ridiculous farce. Those in the company who used to point fingers at me did a complete 180-degree turn, their former sarcasm turned into flattery and fawning. I couldn't be bothered with these opportunists. But I didn't expect my parents' attitude to change so dramatically. They probably learned Su Wan's true identity from the news or from relatives and friends. That weekend, they actually came to my door with bags full of gifts, brain-boosting supplements, high-end fruits, and even 2 cartons of cigarettes. My mother, abandoning her usual harshness and pickiness, held Su Wan's hand tightly, her face crinkling with smiles. Her fawning manner gave me goosebumps. Oh, Wan, I was wrong before. I was blind to your talent. Please don't take it to heart. Look at your hands. Your skin. You're clearly a lady of good family. Her Wan, brimming with affection, sent chills down my spine. Lin Chen is so lucky to marry you. It's like his ancestors were blessed. My father chimed in, his face plastered with a fawning smile. That's right. When are you planning the wedding? We can't skimp on Wan. Whatever money you need. Your parents will scrape together the rest. Looking at their obsequious, smiling faces, I felt a mix of emotions. This is human nature. Chillingly realistic. Su Wan responded gracefully and generously, neither putting on airs nor bringing up past grievances. She readily accepted my parents' apology, took the gifts, and reciprocated with an even more valuable health supplement, a box of top-grade ginseng, worth tens of thousands of yuan. Throughout the entire process, she maintained a smile, gentle and polite, giving my parents ample face while subtly creating a distance. She showed them through her actions, I'm not here to beg you. I'm giving you face. After they left, I looked at Su Wan and asked, aren't you angry? They treated you like that before. Why be angry? She said with a smile, her eyes clear. There's no need to be angry with them. After all, they're your parents. As long as they treat you sincerely in the future, I'll be content. Besides, human nature is hard to change. All we can do is maintain distance and respect each other. Her understanding filled me with warmth and admiration. After dealing with my affairs, Su Wan formally suggested taking me to meet her father, Su Zhenbang, the chairman of Hongyuan Group. My heart instantly leaped into my throat. Meeting my father-in-law, and one with a net worth of hundreds of billions, was an immense pressure. This was more than just a meeting. It was an assessment, a trial that would determine my future. The meeting was arranged at a private estate owned by the Su family. It was a secluded paradise, with lush greenery, a picturesque lake, and tight security. Su Zhenbang himself looked even more imposing than in the photos. In his 60s, he stood ramrod straight, his eyes sharp as an eagle's. He wasn't as enthusiastic as Chairman Chen, nor as mercenary as my parents. He simply sat quietly in a mahogany chair, twirling 2 walnuts in his hand, making a rhythmic clicking sound. He didn't try to humiliate me with money, nor did he ask the usual questions like how many houses do you own, or what's your annual salary. He simply handed me a thick document. It was a business negotiation document about a cross-border merger and acquisition. 3 days from now, you will represent Hanyu Bei to negotiate this case. He looked at me, his gaze as sharp as a hawk's. I don't care about the process, only the result. If you win, you have the right to sit here. If you lose, you can leave with your check. I opened the document and gasped. This was an extremely difficult cross-border M&A deal, involving billions of dollars. The other party was notoriously difficult in the industry, skilled in psychological tactics. I knew this was my ultimate test. It tested not only my professional abilities but also my mental fortitude. For the next 3 days, I barely slept. I locked myself in my study, studying materials, analyzing data, and simulating various negotiation scenarios. Su Wan became my strongest support. She didn't directly intervene or give me answers, but as an observer, she would offer guidance when I encountered obstacles. Every word was incisive and enlightening. She would make me coffee, prepare late-night snacks, and give me a warm hug when I was exhausted. With her by my side, I felt an unprecedented sense of security. I knew that, regardless of success or failure, She would be there for me. On the day of the negotiation, I walked into the conference room alone. Sitting opposite me was the other company's elite team. Each in a suit and tie, exuding a powerful aura. The pressure was almost suffocating. I took a deep breath. Sue Won's smile flashing through my mind, I couldn't let her down. And I couldn't let her lose face in front of my father. The negotiations were incredibly difficult. The other side's conditions were extremely harsh, leaving almost no room for compromise. I remained calm and, following the pre-prepared plan, argued logically and with evidence. Whenever I was about to be provoked by their words, I remembered Sue Won's advice, calm down. They're testing your limits. Just when I felt I was about to break down, I remembered Sue Won's warning about a seemingly insignificant flaw in their financial statements. Their data on R&D investment was contradictory, possibly indicating overstatement. I used this as a breakthrough, pressing the issue step by step, forcing the other team to look at each other in bewilderment, ultimately forcing them to admit the data was incorrect. The situation instantly turned around. Finally, after an 8-hour stalemate, they accepted our proposal. I had succeeded. When I dragged my exhausted body out of the meeting room, Su Zhenbang was standing outside the door, his face expressionless. "Come with me," he said, turning and walking towards the manor's terrace. As the sun set, its afterglow shimmered on the lake. "My daughter," he began, gazing at the distant sunset. "She's never suffered hardship. I gave her everything I could, wealth, status, the best education. But there's one thing I couldn't give her, freedom. The shackles of the family are too heavy. Many people approach her only for the Su family's power." He turned, his gaze falling on my face. His eyes were no longer as sharp as before, but held a scrutinizing and probing quality, even a hint of relief. "But she chose to conceal her identity. And she chose you. At first, I was very angry, thinking you were just an opportunist like Zhang Wei. But I had people investigate you and observe you. You said you would take responsibility. You said she was your wife. When Zhao Qing caused trouble, you didn't back down. When faced with Zhang Wei's provocation, you dared to take action. Most importantly, you never used the Su family's background to intimidate anyone, but earned respect through your professionalism and hard work." He paused, his tone finally softening. With a hint of elder's affection, "My daughter chose you not because you are particularly capable or good at making money, but because when everyone else is chasing fame and fortune, trying to extract something from her, only you gave her a bowl of hot porridge, gave her a home where she can live peacefully. That is more precious than anything else." Su Zhenbang extended his hand to me, his palm broad and strong. "From now on, Wan is in your care. If you dare to bully her, I will chase you to the ends of the earth and never let you go." I grasped his hand, nodded solemnly, feeling the heavy burden on my shoulders. Yet my heart was filled with strength. "Dad, don't worry. I understand. I had passed this final test. I had won not only a project, but also the recognition of my wife's family as their son-in-law. A weighty trust." Life finally returned to normal. Zhang Wei's company, under thorough investigation by the tax authorities, was riddled with problems and ultimately ordered to cease operations for rectification. He himself was burdened with huge debts due to multiple violations. And it was said that to repay the debts, he had to work as a full-time driver for that rich woman, humbling himself every day. Zhao Qing's life was even more difficult, having lost a lawsuit for spreading rumors. She not only had to issue a public apology but also pay a huge sum in compensation. She was blacklisted by the industry, her reputation ruined, and no legitimate company was willing to hire her. I heard that she later went to another city and worked as a cashier in a small supermarket, looking 10 years older. Once, Su Wan and I went shopping at a mall, and in front of a luxury store, we saw Zhao Qing standing in the window handing out flyers. She was wearing cheap work clothes. Her hair was dry and yellow. Her face was haggard, and her eyes were vacant. She saw us too, saw Su Wan linked arm in arm with mine, wearing a brand new dress, her smile as radiant as a flower, while I looked at Su Wan with eyes full of doting. In her eyes, first came shock, then jealousy, And finally only an undisguised loneliness and regret. She stood there blankly, watching us leave, like a weathered stone statue. With regret. She turned and left in a disheveled and panicked state. Fleeing in a panic like a stray dog. We didn't stop her. Nor did we mock her. The best revenge against her was not to trample her underfoot, but to make her watch as, what she had once discarded like trash was now being cherished by another. And she had lost it all forever. As for Zhang Wei, I later heard that to pay off his debts, he had to work as a driver for a wealthy woman who had abandoned him and married someone else. Seeing others in pairs every day, I wonder what he feels inside. Those who hurt us have finally received their just deserts. This isn't deliberate revenge, but the cycle of cause and effect. The inevitable retribution. My life with Su Wan is like a slow-paced art film, simple, warm, and filled with sweetness. We are no longer two strangers who hastily registered our marriage at the Civil Affairs Bureau, but family and soulmates. I used my savings from the past few years, plus the money Su Wan helped me earn through investing, to prepare a belated wedding for her. We didn't invite many guests. Only our closest relatives and friends. The wedding was held on a lawn overlooking the sea. The sun was shining brightly that day, and a gentle sea breeze was blowing. Su Wan, wearing a pure white wedding dress, looked like an angel descended to earth. Walking step by step through the flower arch towards me. The wedding dress trailed on the ground like a cloud. I stood before the altar, gazing at her, my eyes slightly warm with emotion. I took her hand, knelt on one knee, looked up at her, and my voice trembled slightly with emotion. Thank you for your courage back then. For walking towards me at the Civil Affairs Bureau. A place everyone considered a joke. No one but you would have stood by my side. Meeting you is the greatest fortune of my life. I love you. Su Wan. Her tears rolled down her cheeks like broken pearls. She smiled through her tears and said to me, Lin Chen. You are my light too. You showed me that ordinary days can be so happy. Amidst the blessings of family and friends. We embraced deeply and kissed tightly. The sea breeze brushed our faces, bringing a salty scent. I knew this was the taste of happiness. The story began with an absurd farce, but ended with two hearts intertwined. Sincerity and kindness may be late, but they will never be absent. This is the most important lesson I learned from my wife, Su Wan. And I finally understand that the greatest fortune in life is not finding money, not winning the lottery, but meeting the right person at some point who mends the cracks in your life and makes you a better version of yourself.